Hey, welcome into the Rice Football Blue and Gray preview show crossover sport season. I'm Matthew Bartlett, director of the Rest, joined by JP Heath. As always, did I say the Rest? The
I think
Roost.
you did. Yeah,
Man,
I wasn't going to say
I can't
anything.
even. Who am I? What are we doing? I can't juggle two sports. This is what we're talking about.
It's
Matthew
on your
Bartlett,
hat, man.
director
It's
of the
on your hat,
Roost.
but you can't see the
It's on
front
my
of your
yeah.
hat.
Read that. JP's here. Well, JP's not here. That's kind of why we're doing this way. JP is in a hotel room in Austin, Texas, as the men's basketball team prepares to take on the Longhorns tonight. Did I get everything? Is that close enough? We're here to talk about football, right? Allegedly.
Hey, week 11, you got enough. We're okay.
But in order to kind of get some more color, I've been enjoying this. JP has been the mastermind behind it. We're going to bring in our guest, Matt Swearad. He is the voice of the Charlotte 49ers, here to talk about the upcoming football game this weekend on Saturday in Charlotte, Rice and the Charlotte 49ers. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
And then we were talking before the show, and I just wanted to get this out there because I think a bunch of folks maybe in Houston might have forgotten. Your best estimation, how many people currently employed by the Charlotte Athletics Department were on the sideline when Rice played Charlotte last year?
Oh, well, including players, maybe 40. Yeah. Not all those guys played in the game, and not all will play in the game this week. But a lot of turnaround from last year. I think we have 70 some odd new players, which was second to Colorado, what Coach Sanders did over there with the Buffaloes. So yeah, we've had a big flip of personnel. But you know what? Some of these guys that did elect to stay and try to, make it with this current staff are really playing well and becoming a big part of what we're doing right now.
Hey, Matt, brother, thanks for joining us, man. Give us a great or good, hey, by your standards, whatever it would be, a Biff Poggi story and how he has really come in. It seems the last few games, the team's really taken on his personality and what y'all want to do running the football specifically, I guess.
Yeah, he came in the start when he first got here. We're talking about, he always says, I'm going to run the dang football. And the last 5 weeks, I think the last 5 weeks, we've had at least an 80-yard runner. And in 4 of the 5, at least 90. In this past week, Hassan Wilson ran for 198. So he that's what he wants to be. He wants to be a defensive team. He wants to run the football. I'm not sure he's a big fan of kickers or quarterbacks, but he loves to run the football. And in the last 5 weeks, we're starting to play the type of football that he wants to establish as the identity of the 49ers.
Is coming from the I guess the Jim Harbaugh Michigan school of doing things. Have you kind of seen the imprints? Is it quite blue and maize over on the east, or has he kind of put some of his own spin on it?
I think he's put a little bit of his own, but definitely what he's taken from the Wolverines the last few years, and he's very close to both Harbaughs. The one, of course, at Michigan, the one with the Baltimore Ravens. John, he talks about them quite a bit. He still, talks to Jim almost every day. I think I know he talked to him before the game on Saturday. So he's taken a lot of what he learned there and what he helped implement with the Wolverines with their culture and trying to do it with us. He talks about the players all the time, loves his players. A lot of our players played at St. Francis, either with him or after he had left. Of course, he coached at St. Francis for a while, which is in the Baltimore area. And you look up and down our roster, a lot of the guys that are making big contributions right now played at St. Francis. So going forward, how much more of that do we see? Or, does his recruiting expand a little bit? But a lot of guys have that start from St. Francis on our roster.
So no sleeveless Matt Swearad broadcast. And I know I've been in your minivan. You're not going to get a Rolls Royce or have the Stogie anytime soon in your broadcast. You and Al?
No. Coach did purchase a Rolls Royce recently. That's definitely different, and he loves his cigars and he loves his sleeveless shirts. But it's getting colder, and Coach is a little bit older than I am, and I think he's 64 now. So when it gets a little chilly, he goes to the pullover. And last weekend he did have the pullover on, but when we won at Tulsa, it'll be interesting because we won at Tulsa. He had the pullover on, and at halftime, we were down 7. coming out of halftime, he yanked that pullover off, and there was that cutoff jersey, and we went on to win the second half. So we'll see what happens this week. It's going to be about 65 to 70 degrees at kickoff. We'll see if he's got the top on or if he's going to go with the cutoff.
We get the it was Gary Patterson, right, who did the halftime attire change that sparked the win. We have Biff Poggi shirt watch, hoodie watch, whatever this is.
Yeah, the real important details, right?
Yeah. The fans love it. That's for sure. The TV folks seem to like it. But he's definitely a blue-collar guy. He, despite his financial background, he's a hedge fund guy and did very well in that world. Grew up in Baltimore, and he talks about being one of those kids that had to kind of fight through a lot of adversity when he was younger. And the players that he has, he always openly says he loves broken kids. We've got a lot of guys that have been at different programs, and he welcomes them all here to Charlotte. And he kind of says he kind of relates to being that kind of a kid when he was growing up, and he had somebody kind of take a liking to him and mentoring him, and he eventually played at Pitt and then ended up going to Duke and finishing up getting a degree from Duke University. So his road to where he is now is certainly very interesting, and has that kind of fatherly, even grandfatherly approach to a lot of his players and coaching staff here with the Niners.
Well, tell us about the offensive side of things. I was trying to pull up Bordy here, my spotting chart, but just obviously the big question has been the quarterback the last few weeks, but at the same time, you already mentioned the crazy insertion on the running game. You got a guy that had 1 or 2 career carries, right, and he goes off for almost 2 bills. So start with the offense. Well, I know the quarterbacks have kind of been in a turnstile. It seems like the last 4 games or so, you guys have really been running the rock pretty well.
Yeah, we have, and quarterback, I think the rest of the season is going to be what it is, and that's 2 of them. Trexler Ivy, who's a redshirt sophomore, he is a walk-on. Jalen Jones is our other quarterback, and he missed the game 2 weeks ago at Tulsa. Did come back, play a little bit last week, but didn't play a lot. He's a different kind of quarterback. He's going to run the ball more than he's going to throw the ball. He's another St. Francis kid. This is multiple stop, 3rd stop, I think, now in his college career playing for us and playing for his former coach. Different, like I said, different style, but he's very explosive, very athletic. But when Trexler Ivy's the quarterback, you got your prototypical drop back passer, but he's not as mobile and not as quick. But one of the things he's learned the last couple of weeks is to get rid of the football quicker, and to when he can get out of the pocket, and if he's got to run it, get what you can get, or throw the ball away, which he wasn't doing earlier. He was taking a lot of sacks. Now, this past week, he threw 4 interceptions. I don't think all were on him, but he still threw 4 picks, and that's one of the first things Coach talked about when I brought up Trexler on Monday night was the interceptions. But he also did some good things in the game, and he hit our tight end, Colin Weber, for 117 yards and made some good passes when he had to. But we definitely we're living on our running game, and Memphis really couldn't stop our running game. And Hassan Wilson, who was very deep on the depth chart, we've had a lot of injuries across the board, and this week we had 2 with running backs and Shadrick Bird and Teron Kelman, who were not going to play. And we started the game at running back with Henry Rutledge and didn't have a lot going, so they gave Hassan Wilson a shot. And his one previous carry in his entire time was at your place last year for 4 yards. So it wasn't like he was lighting anything up, but he got the opportunity, and boy, he made the most of it, and went for 198, which was the second most ever for a Niner in the history of the program. Only one is eclipsed 200. That was a 204 by Khalif Phillips in the opening first 4 years of our program. So it was a record-setting day for him. 3 touchdowns, and it wasn't like he was running for 3 yards here, 4 yards here, then broke one for 70, and that number kind of jumps up there quickly. He was getting 9, 10 a shot. I mean, he was running for first downs every time he had the football, and I really like his style because it's not just one thing. He's not a guy just going to run away from you. He can, but he's also a guy that can look for a hole, little elusive, little shake and bake to his game, and then if he has to, he's going to run you over. And a little bit of everything in this game made him a lot of fun to watch on Saturday. So I'm kind of excited to see what he can do this week when now he's not going to surprise anybody. There's tape on him. But really talented. Our offensive line's done a very nice job. They've been banged up, but they've kind of stepped up, and they gave him a lot of holds, too, on Saturday against Memphis. But he also found out that come December, he's going to be on scholarship. He's a walk-on, too, from Florence, South Carolina. So kind of a really cool story all the way around, and we'll see what he can do this week.
And then I want to ask you a little bit about Plan B. Should that not work? I know that the run defense has been something that Mike Bloomberg and Rice have kind of prided themselves on over the past couple years, and he, in his presser on Tuesday, basically opened it. He said, we wanted to try and run on us. We think we can stop it. So should the running game need some help from the air? I kind of was looking through the box scores and stuff. Is there a receiver or a pass catching weapon or two that has kind of become Trexler's guy that he trusts in those big moments?
One of those guys, Jack Estera, who's a Colorado transfer, he's banged up. He's not going to play. So he didn't play last week either. But then you got Jairus Mack, and his nickname is No-No. So you got No-No Mack, who's pretty talented, but they haven't really got him the ball as much as maybe they, in hindsight, would like to. And he's a guy that has tremendous speed. He had a good game against Tulsa. Look for him. And then our tight ends, the whole group of tight ends are just terrific. And Colin Weber, as I mentioned earlier, he had 117 yards in the air last week. And a lot of that coming on runs after the catch. And a running game kind of set up that little, rollout with the tight end breaking out in the flat and him being just wide open, nobody really paying attention to him. So and that's on film too. So you guys will see that. And, Bryce Kennan is another one at tight end that does a nice job. Jay Clemens. So three guys that can catch the football in that tight end position that, those are the guys I'm looking for if I'm looking to, try to find out who's going to get the football this week if we have to throw it.
On the defensive side of things, what has kind of been a trend or a storyline with the defensive side of things? Like, did you hit the portal as much as it seemed like you did on the offensive side too?
Yeah, quite a few guys, but there's a few that have returned. A couple of those guys got hurt at the start of the season. We've had a lot of injuries on the defensive line, but our two edge guys are two guys that came out of the portal. Stone Handy, number 11, and the other one on the other side would be Yabi Okiranoma, who's a former 5-star. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Former 5-star that went to Alabama and most recently was at Michigan with Coach Poggi, and now, of course, with the Niners. And he's done a really nice job. Both those guys on the two edges. Damon Clowney, who has a pretty famous cousin in the NFL, he's done a really nice job too. He came from Ole Miss, getting him out of the portal. Our linebackers really have been fantastic. Nikhai Hill-Green, who was injured last year at Michigan, is healthy. Out of the portal, coming with Biff, has been just a tremendous leader at that linebacking spot. That linebacking room has been really, really good. Demetrius Knight, smart kid from Georgia Tech. He's been phenomenal. Won a AAC Defensive Player of the Week award, as Nikhai has as well. Had another interception this last week. Knight did. He's had two on the season. One was a pick six at Maryland. Prince Bemis, a guy that came back from last season, been injured a little bit. Should be good to go this week. So a lot of guys playing linebacker have been really, really good. And the last couple of weeks, the back end has been stepping up as well. Balfour had a big forced fumble at the goal line in the fourth quarter against Memphis last week. And he also had the game-winning interception in overtime that sealed the game against Tulsa the week prior. So we're seeing a lot of elevated play on both sides of the ball. But even though defense has given up some points, and that bothered Coach this last week, 16 points late in the fourth quarter, unanswered, fourth quarter plus overtime. We had a 10-point lead against Memphis and couldn't close it out. Had two 10-point leads and couldn't close it out. But overall, though, it's been, the identity of our team has been our defense. Played well at Maryland, played well at Florida. There's been a couple of games, the FAU game being one, where they didn't play very well. And last week they played okay, didn't play great. But if you look at both sides of the ball, the defense has certainly been a little bit ahead of the offense this season.
At least until the last couple weeks, maybe it feels like. I know that coaches don't really get a year zero, right? Like anymore. That I don't know if that still exists, but as far as you kind of look big picture as things kind of go, you don't really know what to make of Biff or this staff and everything coming in. As you've kind of gone on, and we're now 2 weeks left until the end of the season, kind of where do you think that they've come with those expectations, and what are they playing for? Because Rice, they got to win these last two to get to 6, get bowl eligibility. That's out of the window for Charlotte. But when you get a sense of the staff and the program, the trajectory right now, kind of what's the big ask? What are they looking for to close things out?
Well, we only won 3 games last year, so you would won more. You've already won more than you did a year ago. But one thing Coach brought up too the other day, and it happened for you guys last year, you got to a bowl game with 5 wins. And you look right now with all the amount of bowl games that are out there are not enough teams right now that have qualified with 6 wins to go. So is there a chance at some point that maybe we would be asked to play in one if we got to 5 wins, which means beating Rice and beating South Florida? Sure. So they still have that to motivate the players with. And the fact that you got a couple of games down, maybe to look at some players that maybe you weren't going to look at in game situations that you might now. That's something they might, kind of consider as well. I'm not sure, who they are, but like Hassan Winslow might have been somebody like that, but now he's definitely in the mix where he's going to be playing and playing quite a bit going forward. But he kind of, maybe Coach would say this, maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. I've kind of brought it up a little bit, and I get roundabout answers. But you've seen all the press conferences and things like that. He came in here saying he was going to win the AAC in year 1. If it wasn't something he accomplished, then it was on him. And I love his confidence and all that stuff. But to think they're going to come in and win the AAC the first year is probably, something that
a bit ambitious.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Ambitious, right? This team is better. I'll be honest, we are better than we were a year ago. We are rarely blown out in the game. It's been a couple of games, so the FAU game was not a good game for us. But outside of that, even you look at our non-conference schedule, it was very daunting. And we were right in the game in the fourth quarter down to the Swamp in Gainesville. We should have beaten Maryland. We were the better team that day against Maryland. Where we have hurt ourselves as a team has been little undiscipline and penalties that have killed us in key situations. They've gotten better with that the last couple of weeks, and definitely got better at Tulsa. Only 4 penalties that entire game. Took a step back last week. But that's the area that I think the next couple of weeks they want to show improvement. Let's continue doing what we're doing, but do it a little bit cleaner. Just try to clean up the penalties and put yourself in better situations, winning situations in the fourth quarter, and don't beat yourself. And there's probably 2 or 3 instances you can definitely say we beat ourselves that day. We might have been the better team, but we beat ourselves. And, with a couple of weeks left in the season, we'll see if we can clean some of those things up and what the results are going to be. They're definitely talented enough to compete with Rice and South Florida. Doesn't mean they're going to win. Doesn't mean they won't get blown out. But I like their chances to look up in the fourth quarter and be very much in that game.
Kind of feels like you're playing with house money a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
A good problem to have.
Without a doubt.
Well, that's good. Well, I guess we kicked JP off here in a little bit, but I think that was all that we had for you this week. We'll let you get back to broadcasting duties or basketball or football or whatever is
you guys
on
got the
deck.
Longhorns tonight. I've got the Wolverines of Utah Valley. So they're coming our place.
Utah Valley. Not exactly a regional matchup that we
it's
see
not,
this kind of
the first 3 games of our season, we played 3 teams we have never played in the history of our program. So this will be the third one. Utah Valley had 28 wins last season, went to the semifinals of the NIT, lost to UAB in the semifinals. So they're pretty talented out of the WAC. We'll see how the Niners do here tonight.
Well, we wish y'all the best of luck tonight and every game but Saturday. How's that?
Okay.
Compromise?
That's fair, right? Hey, no problem. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got the man.
Hey,
that's me. That's me.
Allegedly.
My the YouTube and Facebook, it can only allow so much broadcast greatness in one space. So I had to come outside because the nice hotel Wi-Fi kicked me out. So, but thanks, Matt. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Safe travels to Charlotte.
See you, brother.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Yeah, I tell you what, we are.
All right, Matthew.
We're in the thick of it, and we're making it work. Can we?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just went out. Like I couldn't punch it back up. So.
Well, you can go listen back afterwards. We said all nice things about you. We spent the last 5 minutes just talking about how great a friend JP is. But I will close you with this. Do you have anything on your docket? Obviously, this is a game Rice has to win. Bloom called it playoff mode, playoff football this week at his presser. Do you got one or two things that you really want to need to see from the team this weekend to see that happen?
Yeah, many things. If you had to reduce it down to one or two, I would still. I said, I'm going to say the same thing again, aren't I? But I think starting fast, like you see the last three games with the quirks of the scheduling, they were the ones being chased, not the ones chasing. And that's ended up really costing them with the first two games being pretty close, but even the tight one that it was at the half last week. So I think if they had a better start, then UTSA is chasing you. So I think being able to get the ground game going too, that's going to be a key here on the road, I think. And let's see what Patrick could do. Not saying he can't do something through the air, but getting something on the ground and seeing a full workload with Dean. I don't know this for a fact, but does that mean Ari Broussard gets the carries that Juma didn't have? Does that mean there's another wrinkle with Broyles Award finalist nominee, Coach Tui? What do they do? I can't wait to see what happens on Saturday because, like you said, it's must win. So I think if they have a good start and consistently run the ball, but I don't know, can I take a third one? I think stopping Charlotte's run, the way they've been running the football recently, that would be good too because everybody remembers what happened last year, and that was a lot of them being able to run the ball at will. So can't let them just run it like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things there as you cheat and give me six things when I ask you for one or two.
That's what we usually do.
I'll allow it a couple things there. First, at patreon.com/attheRoost. You should subscribe if you haven't yet. Got a lot of stuff coming on the running back rotation, what that's going to look like this weekend. I will say Ari Broussard is 26 yards away from 1,000 yards for his career. And his breakout game, his best game in his career as a rusher, that happened 2 years ago at Charlotte. So I sometimes you just get the goosebumps. It just sometimes the story just kind of writes itself. So we'll see how it happens there. I think I'm most interested to see is I want to see, you talked about it, man. I want to see the running game. We have had games where we're like, wow, Dean Connors is awesome. But like, this is a game that if I don't care who, it actually could be Dean, it could be Ari. If Rice can rush for 250 yards, something like that, then it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. We'll have some notes on Patreon on that too, what that's looking at. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. It doesn't matter how well your defense is able to defend the run. If you can, we're getting in the time machine. We're going back to 2021 era Rice football, where we're just going to pound the rock, control the clock, and we're going to win this one 24-10. Like that is the plan, the game plan. What I think. might be the best thing to do. Nobody's asked me for my opinions yet in however many years I've been doing this of how a game should be played. And, that's probably for the best in the long run. But I agree. I want some smash mouth football. I want a 200-yard rusher. It would make me happy. See the O-line dominate. That's kind of on my list. And I was talking with Matt as we were kind of getting on. I just kind of want to close this on this thought because I think we've all heard the coachisms and the coach speak about going to go 1-0 this week, right? To the point where like you can probably repeat the speech in your sleep. And we're like, yes, we get it. You're focused. And I'm kind of being facetious on the next game. But we talked with a couple guys at the Rice press conference on Tuesday. I talked to some other folks at practice on Monday. And I said, do you remember the game last year, that the Charlotte game and how that went? And are you thinking about that, expecting them to say, no, that was last year, this would be a different team? But almost to a man, everybody I've talked to so far was like, yeah, we remember that. It's personal. We want payback. We don't think we showed them who we were last year. We're going to show them. And I just, the chip on the shoulder, nobody believes on us kind of thing. I know that's kind of an overused cliche maybe in sports, but it was kind of, I don't know, it got kind of exciting to see guys that like, no, we got embarrassed and we don't like it. And we remember and we want to right that wrong. So I don't know if that's the extra motivation that gets them over the hump, but they need something, man. You're muted, but I'm sure you're making very coherent thoughts.
My best thought of the day. People like it when I'm muted, I think. You were saying 250. I say 150, 175, top of my head. I don't know if you knew this, Matthew, but I'm kind of adapting here. I don't have all my notes right in front of me, but off the top of the big noggin, what's the season high in rushing? FBS level. I know TSU, they had their season high, but apples to apples. So something in that ballpark of 150
it's not very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I certainly, you would be up there if you got to 200.
Yeah. So I think 200's pushing it. You take 200, but I would settle for you need a couple deep shots from Padgett, but also decent to above average ground game, and then let your defense cook. With the way this defense has played, they have got to stop the run, like we said a few minutes ago, but need some big plays from the defense.
Yeah, it's been a minute. We're going to have to. And my key last week against UTSA was, I think you got to win the 3 big plays. And then I think UTSA had all 3 of those big plays in like a 3-minute period. I think Rice got the fumble. Then you had the horse collar for UTSA and the punt return. Those were the 3 big plays. Rice lost 2-1 and lost the game. So we'll see. I take a couple more big plays. I take some fireworks. This would be a great game you felt like you were close. You were 3 coin flips away maybe from winning a couple of those. This would be the perfect game to kind of, I don't know, release some of those demons and kind of prove that maybe that close is not so close against a team that is not even remotely in the same weight class as terms of talent as the last 3 that you played. So that'll be it. Those are all the closing thoughts that I have on this one, JP. We will be back next week. We'll be talking about the final game of the season. Anything else as you salute from our nation's capital, our state's capital? What else do we got? The Moody Center. Basketball tonight.
I'm showing you where I hit a 3-pointer in the state tournament in high school basketball. But yeah, we're going to be playing over here tonight at the Moody Center. I'll have the call and all the usual channels. So
it'll be fun. Well, thank you all for bearing with us. I don't know if it's preseason, Russ. It's midseason, Russ. It's crossover season. It's everything in between. But I'll tell you what, everything is better with a win on Saturday. So I hope the football team takes care of this. It would be nice if the basketball team does. We're in the middle of everything. We got volleyball going on. Everything is going on right now. But we are here this week. We'll be there next week. We'll close out the regular season on Senior Day, talking to a couple guys that are, man, like 6 years. I was talking Clay Servin and Jack Bradley, guys who have been playing 50+ games now. It's crazy, man. We've reached the end of another year, pretty close, but we'll be back next week. We will thank you all for listening, and we will see y'all then. Rice Fight
Never dies, baby. If you can hear me, never dies.
never dies.